Well, hi everyone. Bula and I are back again telling a very long story, an astrology story, as we move into the age of Aquarius. So now, Babula, we've been in Scorpionic turmoil for a while now. So I'm really looking forward to moving ahead quickly into the Sagittarius season eventually. But we've got this full moon lunar eclipse coming up in Taurus on Friday.
Yep.
On the 19th of November, Australian time. So
Yep.
I'm wondering if it will shine a light on some earthly delights, practical solutions, or is it going to continue to be emotionally intense, or all of the above?
I would say all of the above and many variations on the theme. And of course, everyone's experience will be specific to them, but yeah, I almost like I get, there's just so much like, where do you start? What do you say?
I know. What do you say? Well, tell us, come on.
Okay, go, right, I'm on. So let's just before the 19th at the full moon. So just to recap for people who aren't maybe familiar with this, as you know, we have a new moon every month, and halfway through that new moon cycle, there's a full moon. That happens 13 months of the year. But every 6 months, that new and full moon line up with the north and south nodes of the moon. And that's actually what forms an eclipse. And so we are now in the Scorpio lunar cycle. So 2 weeks ago, we had the new moon, that powerful, quite catalytic new moon at 12 degrees of Scorpio in opposition to your exact opposition to Uranus. Big. And things have been pretty strong and full on since then. As you know, Mars has moved through into Scorpio and the sun, and they're hitting off those points of the new moon. Well, now we come to the halfway point in this particular Scorpio lunar cycle to the full moon, but this is a full moon that lines up with the nodes, therefore making it an eclipse. So we are well and truly in eclipse season. Mm-hmm. And every 6 months when we go through these eclipse seasons, the energy intensifies. So, you know, I've never forgotten this phrase. Years ago, I came across it in a book, that a lunar eclipse on the full moon is like a full moon on steroids. And it just intensifies and magnifies and makes even more powerful that energy of that full moon. And then 2 weeks later, on the next new moon, it'll be a solar eclipse. So this moon is in an earth sign. Taurus is an earth sign, hence my forest in the background. Gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. Yep.
And I know Taurus doesn't like change, so we're going to see some things or people bucking like a mule, you know.
Yes. So, you know, it's all kind of playing out within the context of these big Saturn-Uranus squares in the fixed signs this year. And so it's like the fixed signs are signs of tremendous power and strength. And the positive side of that, of course, is that they want to build something and hold it and make it strong and stable. Fantastic. But the downside is there's always resistance to change. And then along comes Uranus in Taurus, squaring up to Saturn in Aquarius, and tremendous pressure. It's literally like seismic plates, you know, pushing up against each other. And we're seeing it in the streets, everywhere. You know, the forces of control meets the people in rebellion, and they're pushing hard. And it's so all this is a lead up to the Saturn-Uranus square at the end of December, the final one for the year. So these eclipses, this particular lunar eclipse, moon in Taurus opposite sun in Scorpio, really highlights that and heightens that. And so everyone's emotions are going to be strong, you know, full moon time, everything is felt really strongly. It's a big energy. We may not sleep so well. There's often a feeling of crisis, or, you know, but spiritually it can be a time when our energies are really heightened and we're really open and feeling the power of this eclipse, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just for some specific details for those who like such a thing, on the east coast of Australia, and I'll give the time for Brisbane because that's where we are, it's at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, because it's a lunar eclipse, meaning the moon is being eclipsed, and because it's in the evening, yes. Sorry, my brain was trying to figure out what I was looking at in the chart. I've only been doing it for over 30 years, and I suddenly had a moment of, huh? What? That doesn't, yeah, anyway, it does. Yes. So, folks, just after sunset, as the sun goes down in the west, at 7 o'clock, you can start looking at 6:30. Rising in the east will be the full moon eclipse. So for those of us on the east coast of Australia, if we want to get to a high vantage point, or you want to get in a boat and head out to sea or somewhere like that, at the time of sunset, you know, if you got somewhere like that, say from 6 o'clock on, and just watch the horizon, particularly in the eastern sky, you're going to see the full moon come up. We know in Brisbane, Mount Coot is a popular place. It's going to be packed. Everyone's going to want to be on Mount Cootha on Friday evening at sunset to watch the moon rise up over the city, but it'll be eclipsed around, like, it'll start probably around 6:30 and so on. And my understanding from various reports from the astronomical direction is that it will be one of the longest lunar eclipses we've had in ages. It's going to last for some hours.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. And because here, you know, in our part of the world, it's happening in the early evening after sunset, we will actually see it.
Yeah.
You know, and anywhere in the world where it's happening in the nighttime, you know, it will be visible in the night sky. So, yes. And because the full moon is conjunct the north node, not the south node. So you've got this axis of north node, south node, the full moon here on the north node and the sun on the south node. Because it's on the north node, this full moon eclipse, it suggests that it's going to be an activator, because that's what eclipses are, to move something forward. You know, the north node's more of a forward sense of direction. We're going that way. And the past is up for change, and some kind of releasing going on.
So what signs would feel it the most? You know, what astrological signs would feel this?
Well, certainly any of the 4 fixed signs, particularly if people have got planets in those last few degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, because it's at 27 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio, or also those degrees at Leo, Aquarius. You know, the latter part of those 4 fixed signs, right, will experience it. You know, and eclipses are always catalysts. They're pivotal points. They're moments when, and not just at that moment, like over these weeks now. They really can trigger sudden big events, and it's not uncommon in the world to see, you know, famous people in the world stage die, and often significant people are born on eclipse as well, you know, who play some kind of significant role in the world. That often happens, you know. So we might have, you know, the shock of, oh my God, did you hear so-and-so's just died? You know, that kind of thing can happen.
Well, this is in Australia, it's Friday night at 7, but the following day on the Saturday, isn't it the Worldwide Freedom Rally?
It is. Yes. And it's happening on this eclipse.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right. I know. And what's interesting at the same time, you know, the new moon that we had 2 weeks ago at 12 degrees of Taurus, 12 degrees of Scorpio, exactly opposite Uranus, Mars is at that degree on the eclipse in opposition to Uranus. So it's a lot of strong energy, and there's been a lot of buildup of frustration, and it's increasing, it's building, because the forces of control are getting stronger and tighter. They're pushing really hard. And so it's activating a reaction naturally. People aren't going to just sit back and take it. It's just getting crazy. So they're pushing back. And it's quite volatile, actually.
And at the same time, I'm just thinking about, when you force Earth like that, you can get diamonds.
Yes, pressure.
This is the upside.
That's right.
We're going to find diamonds in the rough. We're going to find gems arising. It's a bit like fossicking, isn't it? We're going to see all sorts of different things.
All sorts, yes. And what I already am noticing through various avenues is that people who've never actively kind of joined any kind of freedom movement or gone on marches or actively done anything like that, they might have thought about it. They're actually saying, I'm going to do this because this is just enough, enough. So it's pushing, and that's a kind of pressure, isn't it? And it can bring out some quality in someone that they never knew was even there. And it can be a really powerful, empowering moment.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's big. I also want to touch on something else, because if anyone follows astrology in any way, they're going to come across posts online and so on about this, another interesting point about this full moon eclipse. And that is that the moon at 27 of Taurus, it's virtually a degree away from a fixed star called Algol.
Okay.
Now, I haven't studied all of the fixed stars, but there's a few that I'm very aware of and tend to sort of notice. And this one, of course, is really coming up in the astrological world. People are speaking about it because it's very noticeable on this eclipse. And Algol has a reputation for being dangerous, sinister, destructive, violent. And if you read any information about the fixed star Algol, Algol, most of what you're going to come across is the traditional interpretation of it. And where she's located in the sky, in the constellation, she represents the severed head of the Gorgon Medusa.
Oh, really?
Yes. So people often say Algol's all about decapitation.
She's not happy.
So, and she's right on this eclipse. And so I just think it's worth but I wanted to sort of speak a bit more about it, because I don't want to leave people with this, my God.
Yeah.
So strong things can happen, that's for sure. People might lose their head, get all kind of fired up. But when you look more deeply into these myths, most of the myths that have come down to us have come from more recent times, the classical Roman Greco mythology, which is of the patriarchal era. If you go back further into the origins, she was not that. She was not this kind of monster with hair of snakes hissing at everybody and turning men into stone with one look. She was actually something quite different. She was actually raped by a god. She was a mortal, raped by a god in a temple of one of the main goddesses. And this goddess took offense, not at the god who raped her, Medusa, but at Medusa, and to punish her, and she became pregnant. So this goddess was very jealous, and to punish Medusa, she was the one who turned her hair into hissing snakes and cursed her with this gaze that could turn men into stone, like just in a fit of rage and fury. So originally Medusa was this, beautiful maiden, and she had special qualities as well. So there's always more to these Greek myths if you go back and look at the source and the origin, how the story got a bit twisted and distorted. So this is a very powerful fixed star. A lot of people in the astrological world, when you mention Algol, they go, oh. But I've kind of been very interested in looking at the charts of people who have planets around this 24, 25, 26 degrees of Taurus. These fixed stars only move 1 degree every 72 years. So they do move, but very, very slowly. So this is the degree of, and this is on this eclipse. So I just wanted to bring that in because people are likely to come across it. And if they're looking and reading about astrology and so on.
Yes.
And it does add a lot of energy and intensity to this. And I think given that Mars is in opposition to Uranus through this eclipse period, then yeah, things could get, but things are, let's face it, things are under tremendous pressure, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I'm just thinking, while you were talking, you mentioned the speed of the planets moving in the fixed signs and whatever. And I'm thinking, Taurus itself it's not a swift sign.
No,
it's not like Mercury. There's zipping everywhere, is it? It's not like that at all. And then when you've got this lunar eclipse, which is the longest eclipse, you said, in Taurus, I mean, this is really focused on that energy.
Yes.
Yeah, and taking a good look at it and highlighting that energy.
Yeah, it really is. It's giving us time, isn't it? Like, so if somebody wanted to go out in the evening and watch this, and they wanted to stay for the whole thing, they'd be out there for some hours. And, during eclipses, a lot with all the movement of the planets, a lot is happening in us on very fine and subtle energetic levels that we're not even always conscious of, but we're experiencing like, whoa, there's energy changing. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. Whether we know it or not, we are responding.
I think the times when I feel that most is when I feel like the days where I feel like I'm walking in treacle. That's when it's really powerful and I notice that energy. Other times I think that we can easily integrate the different energies just into our psyche, so we just think that's who we are.
Yes.
Actually, I think we underestimate generally how much the influence of the planets affects our personality, our psyche, our behavior, the way we feel, even the things that we eat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with addictions and all sorts of things, Yeah.
It's true. That's right. And the real art to all of it, of course, is as much as we're able to be as conscious and present as possible to all of it, and just let ourselves experience it all fully. Yeah. Just one more thing about this eclipse is that it makes a square to Jupiter at 24 degrees of Aquarius. So that really kind of highlights the sense of, the people are on the move. The people are, we just know people are being pressured to make very, very tough choices, which they shouldn't have to be making. But, this is just where we're at in human development and evolution. But, it's really hard times. And those who are choosing their, sovereign self over all else and their right to make their own choice are having to deal with, the fallout from that. And, I'm seeing it all the time, in my own work. People are talking to me about this and, people are going through a great deal.
But I'm heartened, because I've been seeing people come together. The divisiveness is slipping.
It is.
And it's starting to heal and people are starting to build bridges and to other groups, to all groups actually. So that Aquarius energy is really on the move at the moment. It's empowered, meaning Aquarius representing a humanitarian causes, we the people, those sorts of things coming together. And actually Aquarius is a group sign.
It is.
Because as Aquarius is in color therapy, it's represented by turquoise.
Ah, fantastic.
Right. Yeah, and turquoise is all about groups, beings working in pods like dolphins in the ocean, being in pods, and being opportunistic and being, what would you say, caring about the group.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think probably one of the few animal groups that seem to be like that.
Yeah.
think. Yeah, coming together.
Yes. And that's definitely happening, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And people from many different, political, social, cultural, economic, backgrounds and stories actually finding this common ground and seeing that there's a fundamental issue at play here and we need to come together.
Yeah. And that Aquarian energy represents collective consciousness too.
Yes.
So while we still have individuality,
Yes.
no one's in this group that's forming through the healing and the building bridges. No part of that group is asking any of the other parts to give up who they are, to change their choices, to be part of the group. It's the collective consciousness. It's allowing people to be different but coming to our group because we're all working together for this particular cause, for the rights of the group.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And it's happening at an exponential rate, isn't it? It's just blossoming and mushrooming everywhere, people coming together in all kinds of networks and groups of support, mutual support.
Yes, and that's great. I like that. That's where you see human beings being who they really are.
Exactly, bringing the best out of everybody. That's right. And of course, the other side is the worst out of some as well. But that's exactly. And so this is Jupiter. Jupiter in Aquarius most of this year is that expansion of human group consciousness in the collective.
And making it fun too, because the rallies are actually fun.
They're amazing.
Not like the ones we were seeing in Victoria where the police were firing rubber bullets and those sorts of things. It's different now.
Yes, even in Victoria, it's different now.
Well, restrictions have changed.
That's right.
So people can be, can do these things, and when they do come together, it's a lot of fun for them. Yeah,
I know. There's that beautiful video of them all singing. That's that wonderful song, "We Are Australia." It was so moving and so powerful. Tens of thousands all singing at the top of their voices. So moving.
Yeah. I've had a few lumps in my throat when I've been watching those little videos.
I know, me too. It's so stirring. It makes your heart swell, doesn't it? Oh, I know. I know. Amazing. And then, of course, if, one of the things astrologers quite like to do is to look at the charts of nations and political leaders and so on. So it's really interesting to watch eclipses and how they hit off certain nations' charts and leadership and so on. You go, whoa, watch this one. Something's going to happen here. Like this eclipse is going to trigger the moon of the United States. That's one, and I think the midheaven of China and so on. So that's just a couple of quick examples. But yeah, these catalysts, these activators.
I hope, yes. Well, we'll be talking about all that as time goes on.
That's right. That's right. And, of course, there's the big Pluto return for America coming in next year. We'll definitely be looking at that.
And what it means for the rest of the world.
That's right. That's right. Pretty extraordinary stuff. So now you'll be very happy to know that only a couple of days after the eclipse, Cheryl, the sun will leave Scorpio.
Yay!
Go into Sagittarius on the 22nd.
Yes.
And it's an amazing release, when we come out of that. I mean, there's other things still in Scorpio, but coming out of that deep, when you think about the sun, the sun is life, light, vitality, energy. And when it's in Scorpio, it's having to, one thing is, shine its light down in the underworld, which is what it's doing in there, the sun, but it's also might feel like the light of the sun has been a bit dimmed a bit. It's gone into the shadows. When it comes out again, out of the cave, out of the bottom of the well into Sagittarius, there's a great sense of release and expansion. And, you can feel like, oh, that feels better. Let's go have some fun now.
Yes. And it's that time of year too, building up to.
That's right.
In America, they have Thanksgiving. Here we're having Christmas, and
that's right.
there's a lot of different things going on for different cultures. Yeah.
That's right. You know, people want to come together, enjoy. I mean, it's different at the moment because it's a bit limited, but it's still, people will still find a way to come together and celebrate and enjoy. And that's right. And then on the 25th, Mercury will also leave Scorpio and go into Sagittarius. So you'll have the Sun and Mercury in Sag. So Sag, of course, is fire. It's all expansive and positive and uplifting. But, you know, Sagittarius is also about truth and the speaking and expression of truth.
Yes.
And so that will be a theme when we come into the more Sagittarius period.
Yeah.
By the way, you know, currently all around on this eclipse and the 2 days before it, when the moon's in Taurus, there will actually be 7 of the planets in fixed signs.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
I know. That is really a lot.
Yes.
And they're all sitting across Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Aquarius being the square point. So, yeah, that is a lot of fixed energy. Remember, fixed signs give us strength and power, and we build, we create, we manifest. But there, you know, there can be like a stubborn resistance. But as I said, it's about these forces pushing up hard against each other. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
Something's got to give.
Yeah. I'm just sort of thinking of everything that we've been through in this last cycle. Are we sort of getting any sort of benefit of reaping from what we've sown? Are you seeing that in the stars playing itself out in any way?
I think the way I see things is that each individual will be getting benefit from this entire process. Even if it doesn't look like it if someone's going through something really hard, it may not look like it, that there's much benefit to be had in this, but in the long term, there usually is. Even in the most challenging of situations, you know, there can be something positive and good can come out of it. But I think what you were saying before about, you know, people coming together is a hugely beneficial outcome. You know, people are forming, as you said, new groups, making new connections, new friendships, new ways of bonding and connecting and being together. That, I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking that because in the Southern Hemisphere, we always have Sagittarius, you know, well, everywhere, Sagittarius at the end of the year. And in Australia, that's our summer, and summer always represents harvest. So for me, I always have that sense of bounty and harvest and abundance, you know, when the Sagittarius energy hits us. And I'm just thinking, well, are we going to reap some of the harvest from the seeds that we've sown throughout the year?
I think so. I think so. That's a really good point. I think, you know, there's a few things there, like more people have more knowledge now, you know, and in the Scorpio period, you know, we're kind of down stirring up the murk at the bottom and bringing it to the surface. So more people have more knowledge, more people are beginning to realize what's actually going on. And that's very, very liberating. And, you know, I'm very much an advocate of that phrase, the truth shall set you free. And that's quite a Sagittarius thing. You know, truth is Sagittarius, freedom is Sagittarius.
And that brings wisdom too, doesn't it?
It really does. And then wanting to share that with others, you know. And I find, like, if I'm talking to a Sagittarian astrologically, I find what I'm often saying is, you're here to be inspired and to inspire others. Do you find that as a Sagittarian? Do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah. I tend to find, even before I became a therapist, I tend to play that therapeutic role, but I've also always had people saying things like that, like, you know, they might, well, I don't want to big note myself.
I'll go for it. Do it.
No, but, you know, just playing roles where people go, oh, like the educator more than anything.
Yes.
Yeah, like, oh, I even just last week I did a podcast with someone from New Zealand, and she said, oh, she sent me an email later and said, oh, after that conversation that we had, I had some insights about some of the things that you were saying that I'd never thought of before, but I've been doing this for ages, so that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Inspiring, uplifting, encouraging, educating, informing, and bringing that really positive note, like if someone's feeling really down, I mean, sometimes we just need to go there and feel down, but often the Sag has that natural impulse to want to shift that energy and lift it, and which is why they love throwing parties and things like that. Come on, we need to have some fun.
Yeah.
But I think, to your point, I think, what I'm hearing is, as we come into the Sagittarius period, things going to get better. It's basically that, isn't it? Like things going to improve. And I think we will see signs of that, of expansion and more freedom. I mean, these forces of control are still pushing hard.
Yeah.
But I think that energetically there will be a noticeable shift.
At least for a while.
At least for a while, that's right, as we go through the Sag time. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to add on to the idea of diamonds coming out of all of this, is under all this pressure too. But I think through the whole year, for the whole 2 years, I was having a conversation recently with a friend, and who said, before the pandemic hit, and she wasn't terribly interested in politics, and I have to be honest, I wasn't particularly interested to the depth that I am now. And there are many, many, many other people who are like that. And we've gone through this huge educational process. I'm saying that because of Sagittarius energy, right? And many people have taken on the role of civilian educators about what's going on. We've got this emergence of civilian journalism, and now we've got civilian educators, and everyone's being politicized, and the amount of knowledge that people now have about politics as opposed to 2 years ago is incredible. And that's a good thing, because as citizens, we should know what's going on, what our governments are doing, and ask questions of them. Never and be critical if we don't like what we see. Yeah.
And we have been kept in the dark, and the education system has been very remiss in not including in curriculum, real information about how the country is run and how it works. I mean, most of us, we learned a bit at school, and you kind of pick a bit up here and there, but for those of us who generally don't follow it in great detail, been pretty ignorant, and we're paying the price for that now, and of course a lot has been happening in secret as well, deliberately kept from us. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We are learning. I feel that too. Like, I thought I did understand quite a bit about what was going on in the shadows. Oh my God, have I had an education in these last 2 years?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If even those people who thought they understood a bit of what was going on, we had no clue.
No.
We had no clue whatsoever.
The extent, the depth, the breadth, the extent of it is eye-watering, actually.
Yes, and unfortunately the corruption, which is not good. So I think the diamond in all of this for us has been we've become socially conscious.
Yes.
And politically conscious.
Yes.
And now we're questioning the 2030, what do they call it? The environmental situation.
That's right.
We're questioning that. Is it real? What's going on here?
That's right. Like, it's been hijacked. That environmental issue has been hijacked, and it's been turned into something that's actually not good at all. That's right. And, it's playing on people's good-hearted desire and passion to live in a beautiful environment, and it's all been distorted and twisted.
Yes. This is what we need to sieve through, and which Pluto is putting us all through, making sure that everything there is graded,
That's right.
There is no stone left.
No stone left, not a single one, total clean out. And then on the other side of that, because we are more informed and empowered, we can begin to have the vision of how we move forward and recreate this in a very different way, you know. Yeah, and we'll all be much more involved, won't we?
Yes, yes.
And want to participate, which is the Aquarian way. We all have to participate as citizens instead of it just being top down at the top of the pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, oh boy. So and just looking ahead, Mars leaves Scorpio in the middle of December, around the 12th, I think. So, you know, we come out, this happens every year when the sun's in Scorpio, we go through this deep kind of period of purification, you know, and often we just need more rest. You know, I've noticed that every year when we go through this Scorpio time, I just need a bit more rest. And I'm slowly over the years learning to go with energy instead of trying to force it. You know, when it's time to rest, it's just slow down, take it a bit easy. Then when the energy kicks in again, which it will when Sag comes, like, oh, right, I'm ready now, let's go. You know, and it just happens.
Yes, I just thought it was aging.
Well, it's that too. It's definitely that too.
Yeah. Yes, so it's good to have that the recreational time over Christmas, New Year break for those who celebrate Christmas. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. So then we come into December the 1st. Neptune. So we know a lot of planets turn direct again. You know, there's a period through the year when we have a lot of planets all retrograde at the same time. Then one by one, they started to move forward a couple of months ago. And Neptune will turn direct on the 1st of December at 20 degrees of Pisces. So Neptune's making a long, slow journey through its own sign. So it's really powerful here. And the power of Neptune is not an in-your-face kind of power. Like Uranus and Pluto, you know about it. Yep. Neptune is really subtle. It's subtle, it's mysterious, it's and when we're being affected by Neptune, and when a planet is changing direction, when it's stationary, like hardly moving at all, it's slowed right down and kind of from looking at the sky, they don't actually do this, of course, slows right down and stops. And then it slowly changes direction. And these slow moving outer planets, when they change direction, they're moving very, very slowly through the arc of the sky. And so that means at the end of November and around that first week of December, Neptune is very, very, very slow. Its presence will be felt. And Neptune, we can feel emotionally overwhelmed, really sensitive. Our intuition can be tremendously heightened. It's a beautiful time for rest when we can, to get to the sea if we can, bathe in water, do anything creative, meditate, any kind of spiritual practice, just kind of taking a bit of time out, particularly around those few days, the last few days of November, first few days of December. If it's possible, I know circumstances don't always allow that if there's a lot going on, but to make allowances for that. You know, I've noticed when something like that's happening, people will say, oh God, what's happened? I can't seem to do anything. Well, this is why, and you're trying to push against something that's not supporting you to do that. You know, this is not a pushing sort of an energy. So I would encourage, if at all possible, to take a bit of time out, because then on the 4th, the next new moon cycle kicks in, and that new moon will be a solar eclipse at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. And that will be the final eclipse in the polarity of Gemini Sagittarius. So all the eclipses have been pretty much in Gemini and Sag for the last 18 months or so. they're now shifting into Taurus-Scorpio. So we're having the lunar eclipse in Taurus with the sun in Scorpio. And this will be the final Sagittarian eclipse to take us forward. And eclipse energy remains in effect actually for some time, days, weeks, months even. And there are astrologers who really specialize in eclipses a lot, and they can sort of go back to, you know, that eclipse back in that year, and that's being triggered now, you know. So these eclipses are incredibly important, potent points. So this one at 12 degrees of Sagittarius will have a big impact on Sagittarius, but also consider what house it's in. Now, for me, that's my 4th house, which is home and family. And it's looking like I'm going to be moving house right around about that time. So it'll be pretty full on. And so even, you know, with the Neptune station on the 1st, because I know that, you know, I've moved house many times and I know what it takes a lot. I know to try and factor in a day or two when I can just like take it easy. I have to keep telling myself, take it easy. It's okay. You're tired. The energy's not there. Just do simple pottering about, you know, packing a few things. And then when that starts moving again, and from the eclipse, the energy will really get moving again, you know. So for those who know their birth chart and have a birth chart and they know what the houses in their chart are, these eclipses are going to activate the house. So do you remember what house it is in your chart, the Sagittarius?
Is it 10th, I think?
I think it is.
Yeah. So
the 10th house is, you know, out in the world, profession, career, calling, your position, role, function in the world, how the world calls you to show up, you know, and participate. So yeah, that might be a strong activator for you around your work.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. I know. That's what you're you're sort of really wanting to gear that up, aren't you?
Yes.
And so that's a new moon eclipse, you know, and it will continue to be quite active for some time after that date. And you know, Sagittarius is a sign of vision, you know, the big picture, isn't it? You know, you're a Sag with Aquarius energy as well, so very much a big picture person, and you know, the bigger vision.
Yes, don't put me in a conversation with the Virgo.
Right.
Which, by the way, I happen to have a lot of.
Well, you put them to work and get them to take care of the details while you get on with the big picture. You know, some relationships work like that. I actually have a friend, an old friend. They're a couple, and you know, she said, you know, she does the big picture and he takes care of the details because that's their natural inclination.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I always find, for me, when I'm talking to a Virgo, you know, I'll have a concept. You know, I want to talk about this concept, and then a Virgo will go straight to, okay, so how do you go from point Z or XYZ? I don't know it. They're like way down the track.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about an idea now. It hasn't even crystallized yet. And they're all working out how it's going to work, you know, like, and it's great when you can work together like that.
Yes.
Yeah, but sometimes it's really annoying.
Yes. So that's right, because in Sagittarius, we're literally getting glimpses. We're seeing what's possible ahead of us. There's nothing detailed in that, is there? There's nothing pragmatic going on here. It's just, you know, fire signs often say, oh, I can see it. They're looking up and out and they're going, I can see it. In their mind's eye, they're seeing something.
Yes, and I do, yeah.
That's
I'm a veritable think tank of ideas, because I'm on a committee, and one of the other women on there, I'll say something like, she's a Taurus, and I'll say, I have an idea. And she goes, oh, God, what have I got to do now?
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, Taurus energy gets things done, you know.
That's right. That's right. And that's why, you know, in any kind of group organization, it's good to have a real combination of energies. And if everyone
Yeah. And it works. Yeah.
it can really work. Yeah, you bring your own thing to it.
Yes.
So that's the general gist of things between now and the 4th, at the next lunar cycle, which is the solar eclipse. Just a quick look ahead. As I said, Mars will leave Scorpio on the 13th. Venus is going to turn retrograde on the 19th of December. We will definitely look at that closer to the time, but I want to spend a minute on that because Venus is currently in Capricorn. She moved into Capricorn on the 5th of November.
Yeah.
Now, normally Venus moves quite quickly. She'll move through one sign in 3 to 4 weeks. But every 20 months, Venus goes through a retrograde phase. It's not every year, it's every 20 months. And that retrograde phase lasts for 6 weeks. So I'll just kind of look at this a minute because it is quite relevant. So on the 5th, she moved into Capricorn. On the 12th of December, she'll form a conjunction with Pluto at 25 degrees of Capricorn. So that's really highlighting this Capricorn theme that we've been having so strongly since January 2020. Yeah. So every time there's some activation in Capricorn, we pay attention because it's another piece of the story playing out.
Yes. Every time you say Pluto, I shudder. What?
Yes, more. Then on the 19th of December, she will turn retrograde and she'll turn direct again at the end of January. But what's going to happen during this whole period from around the middle of December into February is that Venus is going to join up with Pluto 3 times.
That's good.
Because she'll move across it once, then she'll turn retrograde and she'll go back over it again, and then she'll turn direct or forward and move across it a 3rd time. So we'll definitely be looking at that.
So, but that's not all in Capricorn, is it?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
While Pluto's just sitting at these, 25, 26 of Capricorn, Venus is going to cross that point. So Venus in the sky is going to align exactly with Pluto at those late degrees of Capricorn. So, Venus is the feminine principle of love, of the heart, of relationship. But I think more important, well, that's what could be more important than the heart. The heart and the principle of love is everything, really. But Venus is also about our values, what we value. And what we value comes from our heart, essentially. It's about our love. So I think we're all going to be going through a time when we're going to have to get very clear about what our values are. And what happens in Capricorn and with Pluto is that sometimes things have to be taken away from us. We have to be put under great pressure, like you said, the coal turning into diamonds, for us to get clear about what is really important to me. And then realizing, well, actually, I can do without that. I can do without that. I can do without that. This is and I stand here, Yeah.
Let me put another spin on this.
Please do.
And I'm just going to say it.
Do. Dive in.
Because, I've been struggling with nurses and doctors who are on the front line and seeing adverse reactions by people who are having the what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've been on various forums where they are commenting and saying, actually it was on a whistleblower side of some nurses speaking out, and their identity was hidden. And they were talking about, knowing that this is going on, but it's being covered up, right? That people are getting very, very sick from these jabs. And some of the comments in the chat box were, why are you not speaking out? And some of them are saying, because I value my job. Now, I'm struggling with that because as far as I'm aware, the health system is about, do no harm and care. And yet still a lot of the nursing profession and the doctors are not speaking out because they're going through this struggle with their own value systems.
Yep.
Now, as far and I understand it, I get it. I see both sides of the argument. If you're playing a house off and you've got children to feed, etc., you want to keep your job, but at the same time, do you sacrifice other human lives for it? So I'm wondering whether this is part of that.
Yes.
About with Venus and Pluto, around Pluto in Capricorn, because this Pluto is the pandemic, Venus the values, Capricorn earth side of material possessions. I'm wondering what's going to happen there.
That's yes, absolutely, Cheryl. And Venus is also money, and Pluto's got to do with our work and employment and so on. And Capricorn's also about the professions, people who have a standing in society because of their profession. So there's a lot in that. And, you're absolutely pointing to, like, this is critical stuff, So that Venus retrograding across Pluto. So, every 20 months, Venus does a retrograde. It just happens that in 2021, 22, she's going to be doing it over Pluto.
Yes.
Which just is more of this story. And I think for many people already, I'm seeing it with clients, with friends, family, and so on, pushed right up against this hard place. And everyone's having to, like I said, kind of strip back and go, who am I? What do I stand for? What is my heart telling me? And it's really tough, isn't it? And many are walking away from their jobs because they cannot condone what's happening.
Yeah. And many more are staying with it. And
that's right.
That's the part that I'm struggling with. And I'm trying not to judge because I can see both sides.
Yep.
My children are involved and they've got to have a meal, they've got to have a roof over their head, they've got to go to school, blah, blah, blah. I get it all. I really do.
Yeah.
But at what cost?
That's right. And that's a big piece of what Capricorn's about, is about the consequences of our choices. And it's hard stuff. This is hard. And it's heartbreaking. How many people have we watched on videos with they're either medical researchers who are finding out what's going on, or in the legal system, the medical, whatever, and their hearts are broken. Like they're just bursting into tears. They're completely shattered by what's actually going on.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking. So,
and I think I would suggest that they're probably suffering a lot of shame.
Yes.
Privately.
Because
if I was in that situation, I would be ashamed of myself.
Yes. To participate in such a thing.
Yeah. To keep doing that at what cost? And that would be a really hard decision. And unless I'm in that situation myself, I really can't say.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge stuff. And this is soulful stuff, and it's karmic stuff too.
It is. It is. This is soul stuff. This is absolutely, like it's very clear for me. I cannot and will not betray my soul under any circumstances, and each of us has to come to that place in our own way, in our own time, don't we? And and there will be consequences, whichever road we take, there will be consequences, but it's clarifying our absolute bedrock, rock bottom values, and where's the line in the sand that we draw.
Yeah, it's an awful situation for people.
It is. It seriously is. And this will be particularly pertinent, of course, for people with, say, they've got something in those last few degrees of, or anything in Capricorn as Venus retrogrades. I mean, every time Venus goes retrograde, people often go through quite a lot in their personal relationships, their values, their finances. There can be struggles and issues that come up around that. It's a time of karmic reckoning anyway. It's just this one is especially strong because we're back in the Capricorn territory with Pluto.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a doozy, really. In astrological parlance, it's a doozy.
So like,
and the other thing too, of course, is that she is the light of love. Venus is the goddess. And I think that's like calling on her, connecting with that love light in the heart, with getting very clear about what the heart says and following the guidance of your heart, even if it's as hard as all hell and it's one of the toughest decisions you might have made. We've all made tough decisions in our life, haven't we? We've all been through things. So this is one of those on the collective. Everyone's having to face up to some pretty fundamental stuff.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like, a lot of people have been through, let's say, divorce. And say you're living in the family home, you have the relationship breaks up, the family breaks up, the family home disappears. It's all gone. But what we're talking about now is much more than that.
Much more than that.
Much more than that. Yeah. This is
it's huge, deep, fundamental soul stuff. That's right. And the heart has got a great deal to do with this. So just the fact that Venus is now in Capricorn, before she's even turned retrograde or gotten anywhere near Pluto, she's still early in Capricorn. She's now in this sign. So she's going to actually be in Capricorn for about 3 months. Whereas normally, as I said, she'd, move through quickly, 3 to 4 weeks. She's here for an extended period because she's going to do this. No, I've got another appointment with Pluto. He's calling me down into the underworld. We've got work to do here. And then usually with the third pass, when she moves direct again and meets Pluto again, there will be some kind of sort of renewed clarity, resolution, certainty, understanding of what that was all about. And often just Venus retrograde, people show up from our past, we're back in karma, old stuff. Yes. Trauma even, like trauma has got a lot to do, hasn't it? Karmic trauma, family trauma, childhood trauma has got a lot to do with how we make choices in this life. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if I spoke about this last recording that we did, but about the Great Resignation. I might have spoken to you privately.
I can't remember, but we did mention that.
For those tuning in the first time, the forecast is for the Great Resignation to hit Australia in about March. But I think maybe, and meaning the Great Resignation is where people are making different choices and deciding, hey, I don't want to go into debt for the rest of my life to buy a house. I want to live, I want to have a life, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to live differently. I'm going to I'm not going to have those high expectations. I'm not going to have the expensive car. I'm not going to have the annual overseas holiday. Well, I don't know who's going to have that now. But, like all of those things, they make different choices so that they actually have a life.
That's right.
That is of value. And maybe this is the real kickoff for that.
That's right. I think so too. And I think also in that Venus retrograde period, when it's certainly the second pass, when it's retrograding back over Pluto, I wouldn't be surprised if some people in our world who've been feeding off this situation and gaining incredible wealth and power and prestige and position, some of them might come unstuck actually. Karmic reckoning, I think, for some people. Is it kind of like a rubber band clawing, hits them back in the face again. So we shall see, but I think there could well be things like that playing out.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. This, like every time I think, it's just you go, oh my God, catch your breath. And next.
I know. I mean, there was a period during the year when for a couple of months things were in a bit of a lull.
Yes.
And then like October, we could see it coming. I think, whoa, things are going to really build up in October, November, December. And here we are, we're smack in the middle of it. And it's it's in our face now.
Oh, well, we've all gotten through many things through our life, which we never thought we would. We've struggled and we've succeeded.
Yep.
And some of it has been very, very hard for some people. And
we've evolved and grown and matured and so on. That's right.
So I'm putting on my Sagittarius glasses and saying, the future is bright.
looking to the future with great optimism. But I do too. I do, like I know it's really tough going, but yeah, the future will be bright, but we've just got a way to go yet.
Yeah, and I have a lot of faith in humanity.
So do I.
A lot of faith. When push comes to shove, people pull together as they've started to do now.
And we're seeing it, yeah.
Yes. And, it's just the same as when in 2010, I think it was, 9 or 10, I think, when Brisbane had the floods and people band together to help each other. Just, I remember at that stage, they were walking up and down the street, just people out of nowhere, plates of sandwiches, feeding other people who were working to clean out their houses, right?
That's right.
There were so many people who volunteered in Brisbane to, it went into the city to the council, I think it was, council offices, and said, where do we go? What do we do? Because I was sending out buses of volunteers to various areas. In the end, they said, sorry, look, it's just too many volunteers. You're getting away. Oh, wow.
Amazing. So, but that's true. On the most part, people are good-natured and actually want to help, don't they?
Yes, they do.
That's our actual real nature.
Yes. Yeah. No. I have faith in humanity. We'll struggle.
So do I.
Struggle for a while on more years, but we the people are good-hearted people.
That's right. That's right. Well said.
And on that note, we will say goodbye now to the Taurus forest in the background. And your plant in the background.
My plant, yes.
As we continue over the next lunar cycle, we hope that you've gained some insights into this episode. And I'm going to give you one last plug for your workshop this coming Sunday.
Yes. Well, actually, it's booked out, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, but I'll be doing the same material as 2 Zoom webinars the next week. So that's available. It'll be the same information, but just online for people who physically can't.
Yeah. So that's the transits of 2022. So if you want to get some insights about what's happening next year, the energies that we'll be working with, oh joy.
It'll be great, Cheryl.
It is. And if you can't go, then Babula records it and you can buy the recordings too. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Until next time, thank you, Babula.
Oh, an absolute pleasure, Cheryl. Go well, everybody.
All right. Bye for now.